Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the New Element Awards, and welcome to our award show. I am Cedar Point 6, Brian Andrelzik, and today we are going to be going through all the awards with the help of Jappy and Dr. Dirt. Welcome, guys.
Hello.
Hello there.
And so let's get on into it and take a look at what we have for today. So we had 29 categories here with 47 votes in total, and this was put together by the awards committee, which was Posix, Liam, and Coaster Creator 9, with consultants from myself, Extreme, and Who's Leon, Jappy, and In Cities Josh. So nice selection there. All right, so let's jump in. So we're gonna go through each of the awards. You know, they're set up in kind of a bit of a grouping. So we're gonna look at some infrastructure, then architecture and aesthetics, ride design, and finally, ultimately, we'll get to the best park maker and best park. So let's check that out. You ready, guys?
We are ready to go.
All right. First up.
Well, first up is Best Entrance. I don't think there's any better way to start off a presentation than with the entrance, of course. Well, in the first place, in the third place, we have Storybrooke Glen with 10 votes. On second place, with 11 votes, we got Washes On Rainbow Summit by Cedar Point 6. And on first spot, we've got Gondolgrim by the team of the Manual Laborers from last head-to-head with 18 votes.
Gondolgrim was great.
Oh yes, that was such a great presentation for the park. I loved how grand and magnificent it felt.
You know, it's one of those parks that I think, you know, such an early on in the head-to-head season that I think we kind of forgot about it, but really had some kind of interesting aesthetics, and just it was a pretty unique park on the whole.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Well, congratulations to the Manual Laborers for this one, and we'll be seeing a number of head-to-head wins on this, or nominees at least, and winners. But we did do the head-to-head awards also. But we wanted to include basically all the parks from the year at hand, so not just the head-to-head parks, but also the other ones as well. So we'll see a selection from everywhere. Next up, we've got Best Infrastructure.
Alright, for Best Infrastructure, we have a shared third place, but with Ohio Stadium by Where's Waldo, and Ville Rouge-sur-Mer by the Tile Inspectors, each with 12 votes. On second spot, with 15 votes, we got Nippon Professional by CP6. And on the first spot, we got Washes On Rainbow Summit with 16 votes. Congratulations, Brian.
Thank you very much. Certainly, that was an infrastructure-heavy map, and kind of the reason that I went that way. My vote here went to Ohio Stadium, honestly, because it was just, for one, a pretty fantastic recreation just in the first place, and for two, it was just really impressively done. That was certainly a highlight map for me this year.
Oh, definitely. You could see the love of Waldo for the sport itself, and the dedication towards recreating a completely beautiful stadium in RCT.
Absolutely.
Yeah, having been there, is a very accurate recreation there.
But then, of course, the winner, your own park, Washes On Rainbow Summit. We have seen Outskirts done before in RCT to provide some more context, but I think we can all say this is one of the most elaborate recreations of an entire townscape we have ever seen.
Well, definitely, it was more landscape and infrastructure than it was park, I suppose. But I'm happy how it turned out. So thank you for the votes for sure. All right, as we move along to the next one, we have a best set piece.
All right, Dirt, you're up.
So this category is looking at some of the parts of the park that are more central theme pieces, and we had a few nominees for this one. And in third place, we have the Grand Piano at Yurka Daylight Time by the Scream Queens.
You know, that was a map that was one of those underrated ones, I think, as well, wasn't it?
I
would agree.
I
There is a
think it
lot
was.
of there's a lot of concept art and art from the original artists that was used to base on it, and Terry did a great job.
I think has to do. Well, it's a map inspired by an artist, of course, and of course the vision of an artist is quite difficult already to translate into RCT. But Terry completely understood what he was trying to do, but I'm afraid the community itself wasn't quite along with it. I'm afraid.
Well, and they also went up against a challenge as far as I recall. So that was they were up against it from the get go, but certainly a good showing. But it was, I think, remembered more fondly now than during the voting. So I am happy that we are still talking about the park.
Oh,
Yeah,
definitely.
absolutely. And in second place for this category, we have the giant skeleton in the Good Death. That was by Logan's Run. Another good example of something that maybe when you open the park you don't quite catch it, but in the zoomed out setting, it's fantastic.
And another early one, that was the very first matchup for head to head.
And in first place for the best set piece, we have the Kraken and Pirates by the Manual Laborers. I think for me this was a clear winner in this category with some of the movement in the set piece as well. The tentacles actually moving around and the whirlpool look fantastic in game.
Yeah, that was a really incredible set piece, and that was a great matchup between El Dorado and Pirates. Just there were two really solid parks. I mean, it felt wrong to not vote for either one, um, and it's I go back and look at both of them and think about how nice they are.
Like like you said, Dirt, the thing that makes this set piece different from all the others, in my opinion, is the movement itself. I mean, if these tentacles were just static, I don't think they would have gotten the votes they had.
Mm-hmm. Well, and to the using coaster trains as moving things is not anything new for sure, but certainly it really kind of makes this what it is with the whirlpool and with the tentacles. I mean, it really kind of makes that happen.
Yeah, and even in the curvature of using the track pieces makes it so much more organic. So we'll move on to the next category, which is the best crunch. This is a fairly new topic in the community, and I think it translates best to kind of the use of textures, use of grittiness that we see in our work. So in third place in this, we have Gladsheim Tile Inspectors, gathering 13 votes. And in second place is Cook County Fair by Hydro Portal, Barnard, and Raunchy Russell. This gained 17 votes. And in a narrow victory was Riverview Exposition by the Adventurers Club.
I don't think any surprise there.
Yeah, interestingly enough, also a Hydro Portal park. I think we can say he definitely is the winner of this category.
Absolutely. Keep talking about this one, guys. I'm going to reset our Discord chat. Apparently, our Discord chat is not popping up, so we've gotten a message from the folks that we need to run that one here real quick.
Yeah, I do think what separates this one is the dark palette that was used here. It makes it so much grungier, so much grittier. It kind of, blends in a little bit of the textures, so to speak. That makes it feel really realistic.
Not only that, but the use of specific diagonals, the use of specific objects to create a new layer of textures in this park is essentially what drove this park over the edge, in my opinion. You can already see them using this in their earlier park, which also featured in this category, Cook Country Fair, also by Hydro Portal. The kids got skill for texture use.
Yeah, I do like in third place, Gladsheim getting a nod.
Oh, absolutely.
The use of crunch in a more fantasy setting. You see Cook County Fair and Riverview, really based on realistic places, maybe with Riverview being in a fantasy content with the ghost, but we see a more naturalistic look with Gladsheim, which was nice to see, especially in landscaping.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, we've got our chat back now, so we can say hi to everybody over on the NE Discord. But let's keep on rolling. Next up is Best Architecture. So we actually had a tie for second on this one. And with Best Architecture, we've got Rajasthan by the Serial Killers. And also by the Serial Killers, we've got Christchurch City Center. Both of which just absolutely fantastic, kind of in two different ways. I feel like, that City Center really had a heck of, city urban infrastructure going on. And then Rajasthan was just building after building after building, helped out by the elevation and the color palette and everything. Very different two parks, but man, quite impressive. So both of those had 11 votes, and our winner for this one was La Cour de Ciel by the Manual Laborers. This is a personal favorite of mine for the head-to-head contest. Just an absolutely beautiful park.
The team absolutely nailed the French Parisian aesthetic with this park, so congratulations to the entire team for making this. But I do have to say, personally, I am surprised Christchurch didn't win this category, for we have never seen such high quality modern buildings, modernist infrastructure in RCT before.
Well, and that was really one of the first, I feel like, to use. We saw in those early rounds a number of parks using those half diagonals, but that park, more than anything, really started to push those beyond, and especially the one glass building in that park that was just absolutely fantastic facade, just kind of that jagged kind of front look with the half diagonals, the diagonals, and the straight sections. It was really such a nice building.
Exactly.
Yeah, I think in Christchurch and the Cour de Ciel, we see a good urban architecture, where Christchurch kind of looked at things like adding diagonals, sleek lines and shapes, and then the Manual Laborers had so many great extras that were added to their buildings, from little
Absolutely.
garden areas. You can just see it in the screen already. Some of the details on the top of the roofs, things like this, were just fantastic.
Absolutely.
And then
So-
I think Rajasthan really nailed the earthy textures in the architecture.
For sure. And I feel like this category, among others, is getting harder and harder to really find best of, because it's just the quality of architecture just across the board has gone up so high in the last couple of years. It's just really, kind of hard to keep up. All right, well, let's keep on moving now, and we will head into Best Foliage and Landscaping, which is always one of those that's a little bit of a challenge. Keeping just that. There we go. All right, so in third place we have Gladsheim by the Tile Inspectors, which is kind of a funny one for me, because when you think landscaping, you think trees, bushes, things like that. There really weren't a whole lot of any of that in the park, but they made the snowy kind of barren landscape just such an incredible aesthetic compared to a lot of what we've seen. So a very, very good pick there, I think. In second, we've got Evergreen Gardens by Alex. This was one of my absolute favorite parks of 2021, and I know we'll see it some more here in nominations, but just absolutely amazing park, and the landscaping here was one of my favorites. I think that one was my vote. But our ultimate winner for this one is Villarouge-sur-Mer, which is an absolutely incredible landscaped feat, especially for the new rocks that we see. With Fish's rocks and really dense landscaping here, really coming together for an absolute winner right here.
The Tile Inspectors with this park definitely nailed that Riviera look with the red rocks and the Mediterranean looking foliage, so kudos to them. But Gladsheim, like Liam said in the chat, I can see it, is indeed more than just foliage use. It's a combination of everything. And when I think of Gladsheim, I still get chills whenever I open up that map and see the snowstorm, I see the rocks, and I see those Vikings walking up to their den all up and high in the mountains.
Yeah, absolutely. I think Gladsheim, just being in a winter setting, it's a hard area to tackle for foliage and landscaping. So just seeing them successfully do that is really something. I'm also glad to see Evergreen Gardens get second place with a more traditional approach to foliage and landscaping.
Oh yes, definitely. Alex showing us again what can be done with very little.
Absolutely. And for Ville Rouge, it was kind of funny for me because while this park was released, I was actually on the south coast of France, kind of right around where this was um, based on. And looking at this park, having come back from that vacation, it's just like I'm seeing what I saw while I was out there. Like, it's really incredible, the kind of placemaking that this map was able to put together.
Yeah, just the inclusion in an urban setting to have so
Mhm.
much elevation change is a real challenge that they accomplished well.
Absolutely. All right, so next up we have Best Aesthetics. Once again, we've got a tie for second place. We only have silver and gold here. So for second place, we had La Cour de Ciel by Manual Laborers and Stardust Circuit by Adventurers Club. First appearance of Stardust Circuit so far this contest. But both of those will sit behind Stardust Jubilee by the Tile Inspectors with 19 votes. Close win right here, but very well deserved in my opinion.
It's interesting for me to see that both Space Parks from Head to Head made it into this in the top 3.
Absolutely, and it was one of those things where I think you can go both ways pretty easily because they're both just such unique aesthetics, even though they're essentially a brightly colored advertising jumble in space. They still give off very different appeals, and it's just so much going on. And when I first opened Stardust Jubilee, first my computer crashed, and then when I finally got it open, it was just such a kind of jumble of everything that I just had to kind of sit there and really look at it and see, pull apart all the different pieces and everything. And then once you really identify all the parts and pieces, it's just, there's so much to look at, and it's just so well done. Yeah, you can't say enough about it.
Yeah, this is definitely a park where a feature like the cutaway view helps viewing, because like you say, there are so many layers and so much detail put into this. You can't just take it in first glance.
Absolutely, there's so much going on, and I mean the same applies for Stardust Circuit too. You're having to rotate the camera to see all the different angles and everything. There's just so much going on for sure. Very, very well done. Alrighty. So next up, we've got Best Idea. So Best Idea is, I think this is a kind of a newer one here, but there's a lot of different ideas, and certainly on a head-to-head year, we're gonna have a lot more of these than otherwise. So this was a challenging one. For one, to pick the narrowed down nominees for the voting, and then for two, just to even vote for it. But I think once we get here, we'll all agree on this one. So first of all, we have the growing buildings in Christchurch City Centre, which we saw this growing mechanic using the flowers in a number of parks, but I think the best use of this was the growing buildings, where the handymen as construction workers kind of built the building by watering it. Just such a really clever idea, and almost done so seamlessly that you might have even kind of missed it if you didn't look closely. But between that and the posters and everything in Christchurch, it was just such a cool effect. Number two, the opening credits in Gangland. It's just such a another unique approach to it, and certainly credit to Split Vision for his pushing the boundaries of the game in such the way that he's doing. There's just so much to how he's finding out how to just use the game in different ways than we've really thought about prior. So watching those opening credits is just something special. But the winner here, sticking with Gangland, is the interactive story. Is the ability to tell a story and make a game out of it. Not only are you increasing your view time, you're really kind of forcing folks to look around and see different things, and really just involve yourself in the map more than you would have otherwise. It's just such a mind-blowing thing, in my opinion.
Yeah, that was an incredible opening, and then you had minutes of storyline in Gangland that really I'd never seen anything like that in RCT before. really separated that park from the rest in terms of presentation.
Well, and what's incredible to me for this one is I honestly don't even care what's on the map. Like for me, it's the story. Like the getting involved in all of that, seeing all the little cutaway interiors of things, kind of learning about those things. Like the theme park that was built, you know, the Pier Park, to me, that almost took a back seat to everything else just because there was so much going on. But I mean, I certainly think we need to give a shout out just in general to the serial killers for sweeping this entire category, top 1, 2, and 3. Certainly to be said with Liam's leadership and encouragement of those kind of ideas and development of those. He knows how to pick the teams that are going to come up with cool
Yeah.
ideas.
Absolutely, and one of the best things about it was you're following the story through the whole park. You're exploring the park as the story is unfolding.
Mm-hmm. Well, and
I-
it's... Go ahead, Johnny.
I just wanted to say that I can support all 3 of these parks as a top 3. I mean, the flower thing with the growing building, it's a feature I haven't seen used that many times, but I think it's something that is waiting to be discovered, like the use of pallets. We know it could be done in the past, but people only did it since, a few years ago that it really exploded. Then the opening credits in the interactive story in Gangland, like you all said, it completely blew me out of the water and took me into, well, basically a different game. You weren't looking at the park, you were just focusing on the storyline and trying to figure out the mystery. It's so well done.
Well, and certainly to say, you know, serial killer sweep, we can also say split vision sweep because, you know, this was you know, one real main idea across all of those, and it's just I can't say enough about it. Just certainly incredible.
Oh yes.
All right, and next up we have best originality, and this one has our 3 winners here at the end. So speaking of split vision, we've got the Attack on SS Infinity, a video game in RCT, a game in a game. It's just I absolutely enjoyed playing this one, and it's totally different from anything else I've ever done in RCT. So well done for that one. A tie for this as well, Yerka Daylight Time by the Scream Queens. Both of those had 11 votes. And then we had Stardust Circuit by the Adventurers Club with 14 votes. And then our winner for this one was Gangland by Serial Killers, again for Best Originality, 17 votes on this one. But once again, I feel like any of these could have happened. You know, it's certainly Stardust Circuit being the first of the 2 space parks helped that cause as well. But I can't say enough about Gangland.
Yeah, the split vision really kind of came back onto the scene and started coming up with these original ideas and ways to approach park building. I think he even had released the Dragon Ball Park, and then we saw the one based on Efunja, where we saw the flooding that happened.
Mm-hmm.
So he was starting these ideas, and then it really just came to fruition when Head to Head happened.
Absolutely,
I
just so
cannot
much.
wait to see what he's going to do next. I mean, the guy's boiling over with creativity.
Absolutely, you know, there's certainly so much to say about it, and I feel like, you know, we keep this up and we're gonna see the same thing in next year's awards, just because it's just constantly innovating and really developing out the game. I mean, we just see this such with OpenRCT itself, kind of developing beyond and allowing us to do more things and opening more opportunities. And I mean, users are taking advantage of that and really making it their own. And I think we're really seeing this game flourish more than it maybe ever has.
Oh, absolutely.
Alrighty, so best non-coaster attraction is next up for us. So we're gonna roll into this one with Starship 3000 in Cook County Fair. That was by Hydroportal, Barnid, and Raunchy Russell. Cook County Fair, another one of my favorites of last year. Some really nice stuff going on. And then once again, Yerka Daylight Time shows up. Great to see that one on the board once again with High Roller Highway. Silver here, we have the Zipper back to Cook County Fair. Just so many good custom rides in this map. And it's hard to pick one in general, but just absolutely fantastic. And then number one was Rio Maldito in El Dorado by the Adventurers Club. 19 votes, a runaway win here, and not at all surprising in my opinion. So good job, Scoop. This one's for you. Certainly a really great park to begin with, and it's a great water ride. Just really well put together on the whole.
Oh, definitely. The thing I loved mostly about this water ride when I opened the park, is that I could definitely some hints from Chiapas from Phantasialand in it. So it was always fun to see something to be recognized. But then again, Scoop put his own spin and creativity to work, and well, he improved the real ride in my opinion and made it fit perfectly for this team.
Well, and I love, looking at this screen too. It's one of those kind of gamble things where you put the main drop on the diagonal here, where we're looking straight at it, so we really can't see all of the main drop. But this is sort of the main aesthetic of the kind of best angle of the ride, but it still kind of forces you to move around, turn the camera, explore the whole ride, and follow the path. It's just in and out of buildings, it's in and out of the landscape. There's just a lot to see. You're hiking scenery to see around. Just so much going on, and I love all the waterfalls. I think the color scheme here is just super well done. It has that just really nice overall look and feel to it. So certainly not a surprise to see this one coming out on top.
Yeah, there's great balance of the ride about the final drop, and on that diagonal is a gutsy move, and it looks great with the going underneath the bridge.
Absolutely. So well done for sure. Well, let's keep on going with rides, and we're going to go look at Best Wooden Coaster here next. Certainly a hotly contested topic, as is always. So first of all, we have Tornado from Riverview Exposition with 11 votes. Second, we have Robin Hood and Storybook Glen, one of the first showings of Storybook here, and again, one of my favorite parks from the year. Great spotlight winner for sure with 14 votes. But our winner is The Moss and A Good Death by Logan's Run. So this is Steve and AJ. Done very well with 20 votes, so a little bit of a gap there. Just kind of a nice, beautiful wooden coaster here integrated into the landscape.
Yeah, this first drop into the skeleton's hand is one of the best moments of round one and head-to-head in general, I believe.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I like the name and theme and everything really gives you that ability to put so much growth on it, and I love all the vines climbing up the side of the coaster, and you got that sort of aged, rugged look, and it's really just such a nice presentation, and the layout is sort of non-traditional as far as it just kind of flows around everything within the space, and really just fits the whole area incredibly well.
My favorite thing from this layout is, just like you said, the way it blends into the landscape. If you were just looking at this for half a second, you might have not even noticed that it was there first. The use of color with the trees and the landscaping itself, it makes it look like it was always there.
Mm-hmm. It's just such a natural setting for the ride, I think. But you go back to the other ones as well. Certainly, Riverviews was a little more realistic. Coaster just set in a, I guess, haunted, dilapidated form. So that was kind of a nice spin on that as well. But certainly there's something to be said for each of our top three that they were quite nice rides.
Yeah, and Robin Hood as well. Looked fantastic in this park. I loved setting, kind of straight across from the entrance of the park, and its use of diagonal in that roller coaster was fantastic.
Mm-hmm. And the custom supports and everything like that, with no custom scenery there. It's just such a clean. It's one of the cleanest NCSO parks that I think I've ever seen, and just such a really nice approach to that. And certainly, I think Storybook is going to go down as one of the best no custom scenery parks that I think we've ever seen. All right, well, we can't do wooden coaster without doing steel coaster. So next up is the award for best steel coaster. So in third place, we have Ninja by Jiwiz and Nin. This one flew under the radar, I feel like. Kind of came and went with a great design win, but I really liked this. A more or less recreation of Ninja at Magic Mountain, but really just such a nice looking ride. Again, largely no custom scenery. But the clever use for me was the hacked in large loop from the B&M coaster track into the Arrow trains, or the Arrow track. Really was sort of a bold look for that whole design, and it worked really well. It was not something that I think I would have ever done, would have never thought about that, but just seeing how well it worked there was definitely a cool kind of eye-opener about what you can do by blending track pieces together. Second place, we have Rite of Passage. So, Fish there in chat guessing that one right. So, Rite of Passage in Lost World by Adventurers Club. So, this was the steel-tracked RMC from Adventurers Club very first map in round 1 of head-to-head. That was a really, really great ride. Just the way that it kind of flowed around everything. I loved the use of the structure, the way that it kind of flew over the volcano and the kind of drop off the side of the mountain there, or the I guess cliff side of this island. Just very well put together, and again, like the Moss, just super well integrated into the landscaping of the whole space. So a definite candidate there for our win, but we only have one winner, and I've seen a couple of comments here so far, but the winner is, of course, Aversio Lemuria, in Lemuria by Logan's Run. It's by Steve in Extreme. 21 votes here for the win, and just a beautiful coaster, paying homage to Rivers of Babylon's coaster of a similar name. Has that very Hulk-esque beginning here with the launch, that drop and Cobra roll just over top of the water. I just love the loop around the launch there, and just the way that kind of turn in between works. Just in general, such a flowy, just really pretty layout, I think.
Well, it truly is a love letter to an already built coaster in a previous park, but I think this game, it looked and it overwon the previous park, to be honest. I think this is better than Rivers of Babylon's version, and that might be a hot take.
Certainly is a hot take, but I think I can agree with you there. Just the way that it was just, again, integrated into the surroundings. I think that's a common thread that you'll see from all of these great winners here, is the way that the ride is integrated in, how natural it feels into the overall space. I love the path placement, the queue placement of this, just so many great angles, framing all your views, really nice custom support work as well, very cleanly put together. I just really love the sort of classic feel of this, and just the classic park. What this park did, we weren't looking at, new pushing boundaries, kind of new ideas, things like that. It was just a classic park with a really nice theme, and just built to a detailed level, very clean, very well put together. It just did all the things right.
This first sequence of elements in this coaster was just flawless. The
Absolutely.
Cobra roll over the water and just ends up threading the loop over the tilt. Fantastic.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, just a really incredible ride. One of those that I could watch for a long time and just kind of enjoy it. And one of the things too that I think might have missed if you didn't view the park for very long is that the mid-course brake run actually worked. It's on the diagonal, but it has a shoestring hack to it, so the mid-course brake run does indeed slow down the train on the diagonal. So very, very nicely put together for that one. Alrighty, so let's move along here to Best Ride Design. Dr. Dirt, you're up.
All right. So our best ride design incorporates rides across the whole of the park in terms of flat rides, maybe custom flat rides. A lot of these parks will be realistic parks because they've depicted, real life settings. And in third place, we had Cook County Fair. gathered 14 votes. A huge number of custom flat rides with this one, well themed, and the setting was just fantastic.
Absolutely,
And
I can't talk enough about Cook County Fair. It was one of my favorites. I had all three of these guys on. We talked about this on my stream at one point. We did a review of the park, and just great to hear kind of the background of this and just the whole idea behind the fair and the design. It's easily my favorite kind of fair aesthetic, I would say, in the game so far. I know Hydro is interested in doing more of these in the future, just different fairs in different locations, and I think that could be a really kind of fun series, perhaps. But really pushes you to do unique custom rides, and they certainly did well for that.
yeah, it's such a believable setting for all their.
Mm-hmm.
In second place for best ride design was Storybrooke Glen, with 18 votes. This one had just a number of excellent roller coasters throughout the park. Robin Hood already got a nomination. I think what set this one apart was the way that the coasters were oriented throughout the park. Very believable. Nothing felt forced in to its location. All the coasters were just absolutely smooth. Fantastic layouts throughout the park.
One of my favorites,
just
I think.
overall well done.
Oh, good. One of my favorites for sure on that was the dark rides with the cutaway views. Just seeing that nice little detail and nice little bits of theming there in the inside the buildings, I really did like that.
It might just be such a small detail in Storybrooke Glen, but the chandelier in that one was so well done. It's just this tiny little thing, but it was beautifully executed.
Mm.
Off the top of my head, I think some of the supporting rides were great. Notably the splash ride, that if I recall is kind of that Aztec theme or Mayan themed. Just phenomenal extra details with that.
We're gonna call out the pumpkin in the Mexican section with the flat ride. I loved it. I thought it was great. It was controversial, but I thought it was a fantastic use for that flat ride.
All right, and we'll move on to the first place finisher for best ride design. It's our own Cedar Point 6 with Washusan Rainbow Summit. I think this was a clear winner for me. Just so many unique coasters that we don't see very often. Other unique flat rides were in there. So many custom flat rides. Just really believable in its setting that these are the coasters, these are the rides that you would see in this park. The realistic details were second to none in this one, as far as ride operating systems, transfers, things like this.
That was sort of the goal, as I went into this park, is just wanting to do unique rides and things that we don't see very often, doing Togo rides, doing old Arrow hypercoasters, doing this Togo Ultra Twister, and then just a number of kind of sort of janky flat rides and things like that. So, I'm happy how it turned out and everything. It certainly wasn't as crammed full of details as I think Cook County or Storybrooke were, which, those I think were both equally worthy here. But I am happy how this turned out, and I'm really pleased with the way that it all came together.
I think you can be deservedly proud of first place with this one. My congratulations.
Not a problem. Thank you very much. Let's move along. And next up is best theming.
All right. So best theming, we saw for this category just a number of head-to-head parts, which is to be expected. In third place was El Dorado by the Adventurers Club. A great combination, I think, of fantasy park, but also has a bunch of realistic elements in it. I don't even know if I would classify it as a fantasy park in general. But then it has some extra details, like the golden bricks. We already saw the log flume that won the best non-coaster attraction. Giant pyramid in the front. Really just brought together this Aztec theme that's also feels like a modern, realistic setting as well.
Absolutely.
And in second place for best theming, another park that we've already seen is the Cour du Ciel by the Manual Laborers. This one we saw a fantasy setting for Parisian architecture and setting of Paris kind of in space or in the clouds, so to speak. Another thing that really contributed to this one was the darkness of it. Felt, mysterious. We saw a lot of lighting effects with, yellow glass, things like that. Made it believable that this was taking place at nighttime.
Yeah, the palette really did push this along to another level, I think, and I liked for this one, especially the coasters, that had that realistic tinge. You forget for a minute that you're on a big floating island with a bunch of fans and everything going around, and it's pretty incredible when you kind of forget about that for a minute and just focus in on the ride. You have this like fantastic Intamin Megalite just in the middle of this amazing Parisian architecture with the glowing windows and great color choice, great movement. The use of the lighting objects just absolutely fabulous, just fantastic.
And if I may jump in on the discussion of Le Coeur du Ciel, of course, Pacific Coaster was one of the main builders on this park, but next to him was Sorgmod, if I don't butcher that name, who came straight from the NCSO Dirkling server, and this was his first time with CSO.
Something special there, it's we saw a lot of that in head-to-head this year. Is really great kind of breakout performances by folks who may not have used CSO before, may not have really built big parks before. We saw a lot of the Dirkling folks come over and jump in and really make this head-to-head pretty special. All right.
All right, are we ready to move on to?
Yes, bring us
the
the
one.
one.
So, changing courses a little bit is our parks with the best realism.
Oh,
And
hey,
this one-
we still need to announce best theming.
Oh, excuse me. I
You're number
totally
one.
missed that. The number one. I skipped over it.
Don't leave us hanging.
The number one finisher in the best theming was Madinat Al Harir by the Tile Inspectors. I think little surprise on that one. The
Yes.
Arabian architecture, the feel of the park, it felt warm. The use of the palette was, some individuals didn't care for it, but it really made it look like this hot, sunny, dry place. I think that was really effective. And the layering of this park was incredible. We have so many different levels of where the guests are walking, where the coasters are operating, where the different buildings are. Really second to none in that regard.
And of course, Madnot being the park that pushed the Tile Inspectors into the finals, so winning that semifinals matchup, just the texture for sure. I just love throughout. I was not sold on the palette, so I was absolutely not one of the palette favorites at the very beginning, but it has grown on me over time. And beyond this, there was a lot of like best idea moments in here. The loom and just the magic carpets and things like that. There's just so much detail and so much layering in here. It's just almost an overwhelming array of things for your senses just as you look through this park. Just so much to see and so much to look at. I could spend hours just kind of looking at some of the details. I don't know how many times I've opened this park since and kind of deconstructed things just to see how on earth it was even built. There's just so much to look at in this park.
Even if I'm not one of the lovers of the palette, just like you, Brian, I do have to say, at least kudos to them for using such a daring palette, to be honest. But even beyond that, the quality of this park is just amazing. They present the theme so well. You can feel the story of 1001 Nights in this. A coaster called Beggar, the giant weaving looms, the flying carpets, it's a masterclass and a love letter to the theme in general, to be honest.
Well, and you look at the domes here in this middle building, made up of like 7 or 8 different tracks, all kind of mashed together, and none of them read like tracks. It's such a nice use of track texture. Certainly using the scenery as ride vehicles, as the tile inspectors are wont to do this contest. That mixing in those half diagonals, regular diagonals, flats, just to really get that great kind of curvature of the building structures with all those unique textures. It just all merges and melds together so well that it's for as busy and almost chaotic as it is, it's so easy to read.
Yeah, it's one of those parks that accomplishes, I think, what's one of the hardest things in these fantasy parks is to make it feel alive. You watch this and it feels like you're watching this city operate in its own.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so many moving parts, things going to and fro, people moving, there's shops that are believable. It just feels like we're looking at a simulated world rather than Roller Coaster Tycoon.
Absolutely. Well, congratulations to Madnot. I know this was their first appearance here in the awards so far, but certainly not indicative of just how good this park is. There's so much to say and talk about with this park, so definitely well put together. But as we move along, next up we have Best Realism. Dr. Dirt, take it away.
All right, now we're ready for Best Realism. So in third place, we have Florida Action Park by the Adventurers Club. Really fun park. I enjoyed just the colors of this thing. I like that they had the dark roadways. Was one of the things that sounds small, but really for some reason stuck out as Floridian to me. The details around the central pool of water. We even saw this, the looping water slide. Several little different flat rides throughout the park. Really cool work on this one.
I think it says something about realism in that we have the kind of oddball stuff in there, like you said, the looping water slide, just all the stupid, just funny little things in there. You have your strip club, you have the public shopping center there, all the just different kind of funny little vignettes that were hidden throughout. And it's funny because it does. In chat, it looks Floridian. It totally does, and you can tell that Josh Insides did a lot of work on this park just because it absolutely has that feel of the kind of mid-Florida sort of rundown aesthetic to it, and it manages to be both super realistic but also super fun.
I just love all the little in-jokes in this. I mean, there's a game where you can win an alligator. There are employees joyriding. There is the slide of death. This part just makes me smile. It's hilarious.
It is.
One thing that really stood out to me as well was this underwater work in the central pool. We have like this small level of cliffs. You have different colors as you go deeper and deeper into the water. Really believable there.
Well, it felt like a spring. I mean, there are a lot of springs here in Florida, and they all have that sort of crispness of the water, that sort of almost icy blue water, and with all the kind of vegetation and foliage around the outsides of it, and it gets a little deeper blue as you go down. They nailed the color. They just nailed it. It was perfect.
Yep, exactly. All right, and moving on to our second place finisher is Cook County Fair. Gathered 12 votes on this one. We've seen this one before. Won was a runner-up in the best ride design. But here I think we're seeing the reason that it was voted so highly was I like the believability of this park. Also kind of felt similar to Florida Action Park, and we have this kind of grungy, run-down environment that's surrounding these awesome custom rides.
And it's one of those things that I find that we've kind of shifted a little bit in the mentality of kind of realism building in the game. And I know often you want to build the biggest and baddest coasters, the biggest things here and there, and kind of the like idealized situation of a certain park. But these aren't that. They're more of the slice of life kind of grungy realism. I know crunch has been the word of the day for the last year. And it really tries to get that new aesthetic in here and say maybe it's not the biggest thing and the baddest thing, but it's the most realistic thing and it's the most believable to say this is, Chicago suburb fun fair and has that great kind of feeling throughout the whole thing.
I have been notorious for a few years ago coining a term called dirty American realism for parks that are based on Cedar Fair or Six Flags or anything that GeForce builds, basically. But I think I may want to reclaim this term and use it for parks that we see with quite a lot of crunch like we see now with Cook Country Fair. Realism isn't clean, beautiful, nicely swept parks. It's this. It's garbage in corners, it's run down rides, it's trodden down earth and ground, and yeah, it feels like a fair. I can smell the sick and cotton candy already.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. And then, without further ado, our first place finisher in Best Realism should come with little surprise is Washuzan Rainbow Summit. Brian taking an award for this park yet again. I think it's without a surprise, given that we saw the best ride design with this one, as well as some of the best infrastructure. The little fishing village, even the highway passing through, going underground. But I think what really separated this one from other things is the believability of the rides showing their age. You have the hypercoaster that's being repainted. Several of the flat rides are, borderline in disrepair or are in disrepair. So it's really interesting to have a park that feels like it's lived for a long time.
And I think it says something that all three of the parks here in Best Realism are these grungy, like we were saying, this heavy crunch, very kind of grungy look to all the spaces. And for me, the park that I base this off of in Japan is absolutely like that. And it's kind of funny because when I visited the park in 2017, it was looking about as rough as I think it ever had. I mean, you can look up pictures of the park and see these rusted coasters and just falling apart flat rides. And I mean, half the rides were closed. Over half the rides were closed. And so that's really what I took back and wanted to replicate as I built this park. But the funny thing is, as I was building this during the year or 2 years that it took to build it, the park kind of slowly started reinvesting in things. They repainted their Togo coaster, they reopened a lot of the rides, they started cleaning up. And it was kind of funny because I had to scramble almost a little bit to try and keep up with that in my storyline. So that's why you have the hypercoaster getting painted, and that's why you have some of these different kind of things that are starting to look up for a park that definitely had seen some struggles in the past. But it's fun for me to build this sort of like rundown thing, and I think it's that has an appeal to a lot of us here to make these things more grungy and more lived in, I suppose would be the feel. Well, let's move along as we go to our next one here. So next one is Best Fantasy. So from realism to fantasy, what do we have for this?
Alright, for Best Fantasy, in third place we got a park that we already saw pass here, but with 17 votes, it's Madinat Al Herir from the Tile Inspectors. A park which I think works very well here, but for the reasons we've already discussed. It really has dedicated itself to telling the stories of 1001 Nights, and I think they succeeded beautifully in that.
Absolutely. It's hard to think of a better one, as you're going through these things. It's just the detail and the content. It's consistently amazing to me from head-to-head 8 into 9 how much content can be shoved onto a map of the size of a head-to-head map. And I feel like Madinat did more than any other park out there for that, to just absolutely cram it in there.
On the second spot, we've got, with 20 votes, Stardust Jubilee by the Tile Inspectors. Well, technically you could say this is more sci-fi than fantasy, but in RCT it's just called fantasy. I'd say this is also a clear good winner for this category and second spot. The story it tells, well, I like it. I just like it. I don't really have that much to say. Why am I trying to fill this in? Well done. And to go straight to first category, the number one in this is Le Coeur du Ciel by the Manual Laborers. Congratulations. With 21 votes, it was a very close call.
Yeah, all three of those, 17 votes, 20 votes, and 21 votes. Very close call.
I think the category was amongst the nominees was pretty stacked overall. The from Gladsheim was on there. Aqua Alta, which we haven't seen in the nominees or winning, was also, one of the more incredible fantasy groups. And
It,
Head to Head just brought us so many good fantasy. It's a medium-sized bite, so to speak, but our members really were able to capture believable places or believable imaginary places.
It's an absolute toss-up. You're right. You could have easily made the argument for a number of these, and I like that you called out Aqua Alta there. That was one of my favorite parks from early on in the season, and kind of remains so. I always feel like those early parks in head-to-head kind of get the short end of the stick in that we have so much, additional that's going to follow them, and typically the quality gets better over time as we have more time to build on a park. But you look back at that one, and there's just so much great detail to it. But any of these really could very well take this win.
if I may
Yeah,
say,
and not to forget, we had a fantasy spotlight in Conquest of Quinlan Punto by BSG even. So it was a really difficult task to try to pick out what was the best ones.
That's a
it
good
seems that
shout.
after the quite realism-focused few years, fantasy definitely is back on the rise again. And this park is very much proof of that. I'm looking at the chat, and it indeed has proven to be ironic that the winning fantasy park is built by a member that is mostly known for his realism.
It is kind of a fun dichotomy there, but like we said earlier, this is essentially realism that's plonked on a floating platform and has this just extra level of detail and kind of fun and story building that whether realism or fantasy, you're going to have a great time with. All right, so next up we have Best Atmosphere.
All right, with best atmosphere, we're looking at the feel of a park. If it can portray wanting to represent and how well it succeeded in that. At third spot, we've got with 14 votes, Wash's own Rainbow Summit by CP6. In second spot, with 17 votes, we got Stardust Circuit by the Adventurers Club, and I think a well-deserved win on the first spot with 19 votes is Riverview Exposition. Congratulations.
Absolutely. Yeah, Riverview is just absolutely incredible, and I think this is a fun category too, in that we really get representation from all sorts of categories. I mean, Washuzan being the heavy realism, Riverview here being this realism, but with this twist of the kind of rundown, abandoned past, and then certainly Stardust Jubilee being the fantasy representation here. But there's just so much between all three of them that you can talk about, even though they're vastly different parks. But it's hard to argue with this one. Such a beautiful looking park. Really get that heavy crunch like we talked about. Is just so much to see, so much to look at and just explore in this park.
What I love with Riverview Exposition is that it definitely captures the feel that it's trying to portray. It is this run-down 1920s boardwalk park, which hasn't seen quite a lot in decades. But then again, the spooky element also adds some life to it. So I just think this is a masterclass in atmosphere building.
Absolutely, and two, this is probably the first one that I would say that was a dive headlong into the half diagonals, full bore, to be able to say, this whole thing is going to be half diagonals. I mean, heck, the border of the park is half diagonals, so it was one of those that they had to make the very specific design decision that we're going to go all in on this, and I think it was successful. Really think it was the right move.
I totally agree on that. The use of the half diagonals on the border was effective, even to make things that weren't on diagonals and just straight, look at those in a different perspective to make it seem more interesting.
Well, and it's
Go
ahead.
The idea of the fantasy mixed in with this realism. I love the Model T cars driving around. the also ghost versions of those moving in the park, including the rides. It was alive but dead. Just very interesting feel when you look at the park.
Yeah, it's just really impressive for the whole thing, and the risk that you take with those is, it, if you get that wrong, it looks very forced. It looks very gimmicky. I think half diagonals are one of those things that take a lot of skill to use and to put in a successful way into a park. And to really kind of dive headlong into this, there's a big risk that it might not work quite right. And it certainly did, and it certainly turned out to be pretty amazing. And certainly, this would be one of my favorite parks of the contest. All right, keep it on rolling. We have up to releases now. We have Best NCSO.
All right, so I'm really excited about the best NCSO. I think we saw the first iteration of NCSO coming into head-to-head. The influx of some of the NCSO players traditionally coming to NE has been fantastic to see. In third place in this category, we have Ninja by GWiz and Nin, which gained 13 votes. I think personally, this one is right there up with one of my favorites. Between the setting, the feel of the park, the coaster itself is fantastic. In the light level of theming that it has is very believable.
And pretty impressive custom support work too.
Oh yeah, absolutely. The turn over the rest of the area with several of the flat rides was a real highlight.
It was nice to see someone like GWiz branch out into NCSO. Not terribly were used of him.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and a very successful branch at that. And in second place, somebody that we've seen have success with NCSO in the past is Evergreen Gardens by Alex, which gained 16 votes.
And this was just such a nice park. I can't stress enough how well this park did from a cleanliness standpoint, from an organizational standpoint. Just easy to read, an absolutely beautiful park with straight NCSO vanilla base game, just done so well, using pieces in new ways. I know we all kind of lost our minds at the horse chess piece there inside the stables. Just so cleanly put together, and it was a garden. It really was just a garden with a coaster and a couple of rides, and really more so architecture and landscaping more than anything else. And for me, the landscaping is really what carried the park. I love my coasters, but I could look at that park all day just for the planter beds.
Yeah, it's an example that good classic park making can be extremely successful. It's not trying anything to look unlike RCT. In fact, it looks just like the base game, but just amplified in design and some of the details that it uses.
I think you summed it up best for me, Dirt. I mean, NCSO makes use of the in-game textures and objects that are already there, and if you are mastering those, you can do anything you want. RCT has just such a nice, grainy, textured look about it, and sometimes I wonder why do we even use CSO at all? You can do so much with what's provided by us by Chris Sawyer and Simon Foster. And Alex just proves that once again.
Alex being that jack of all trades, I think he can build an LL, he can build NCSO, he can build custom scenery. It's something amazing for each one, and I think the ability to do NCSO as he is able to do really allows that, like you say, Jeffy, to be able to do well in all aspects of the game.
Yep, he also had the Architects that was released in head-to-head, another NCSO park that went into the the only head-to-head matchup, or the only NCSO matchup we had. That was an excellent matchup to see, and another approach of approaching something fantasy oriented in that one. And he did it in an incredibly short period of time.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and our best NCSO release is Storybrook Glen. Which probably comes at no surprise. This is our full size NCSO park that really blew pretty much everyone away. Where I think Alex's park fully embraces the base game. I think Storybrook takes the base game and then innovates. It doesn't look unlike RCT. It's not using crazy track architecture or something like that. It's taking the base game to its highest point.
And just
I
the.
think.
Go ahead, Jeffy.
All right, thanks. I think it's right to call this a milestone in NCSO building. Definitely park making. We have seen quite a lot of NCSO the past years in terms of entrances from the Dirkling community, but they're quite limited in size. I think this definitely proves that NCSO is alive and well and can create amazing things. Even where Alex's is more simple, this thrives on ingenuity and well, progress.
Well, and I see Nin commenting in the little scenario that could. It really is just watching this park get built by the team that built it. I mean, the guys really. It was such a group effort of, nobody having too much tie to any one thing that they're not willing to delete it and rebuild it. I watched this get built and rebuilt so many times, and every time it just had such a glow up. Every single adjustment, every single building, just the ability to look at something with a critical eye and improve it and just make it into what it can be. It was hard for me to take a screenshot of this one because I couldn't figure out where to take the shot because there's just so many really cool things. I settled on the Egyptian area just because there's so much density here with that fantastic Zir, the El Loco, the great log flume here. Could have very easily gotten a picture of the water coaster, which was just an absolutely beautiful attempt at a water coaster. We've got our wing coaster in the front, just gorgeous ride, and then the Morgan Hyper and the Schwarzkopf in the front. There's just so much to see in this park, and just so many really clever object uses and things like that. I don't know how many times I've gone back and looked at this, even in CSO builds to say, okay, well, how did they do it? Because it definitely looked clean, it looked correct, it looked just the best way to do it. So, this was a special park, and it was easily one of my favorites last year.
Also, it's the same team is currently working on another project. I will leave the details to unveil them to them, but from what I've seen, we can expect great things again in NCSO from the same people.
Absolutely. We're on the clock now.
All right, and let's shift gears from NCSO, and we'll come to the best new object. We saw a lot of these with head-to-head being this last year's object makers were cranking out their things for their teams, but we saw some rise above the others. In third place, we have the new brick texture by Liam. This gathered 6 votes.
I've used this like everywhere since head to head. It's one of those ones that I feel like I'm never going to use the original game brick texture ever again, just because this one's got so much more detail and again that crunch to it. It is a very useful, almost necessity for me nowadays.
Yep, exactly. The level of grittiness to brick textures will really elevate anybody that's building in CSO. In second place, we have the 3D Signs Without the Background by Tulsimir. This had 21 votes. I think these were just kind of revolutionary. We never had any options like this before, just attack words onto buildings like that. They're used everywhere. You see every booth that you open has that park object file tagged along with it. Just something we've never seen.
Shout out too to the different fonts too. I mean, we have the Greek letters, we have the regular letters. There's a variety now that we didn't have before, and it really elevates it out. You look at the original game designs, which are cool to be able to have, just that was a piece of the original game to have the three different sign options, but now we just have so much more ability to do that.
This was
Yeah.
an object we all needed and wanted for years, but nobody figured out how to do it until Tolls came along.
Yep, and
And
just
now
the
we can do
time
it
and
nowadays.
effort to dissect the 3D sign object to make one that's fully customizable. Just a ton of effort put into that.
And that's the thing is I have no idea because I'm not an object maker by any means. I have no idea how difficult this is and what went into it. But man, I sure would love to see in the future even more custom fonts and things like that we can really have the ability to customize these parks even further with the new save format now and the allowance for so many additional objects and things we have. We've paved the way now. You don't have to conserve your objects as far as selection goes. So we can have 20 different fonts or 20 different text sizes, things like that.
Yep, this essentially broke the ice into custom signage in RCT, which is exciting. And in first place, in a very close race, we have the Fish Rock set that gained 23 votes. So only winning by 2 votes, that both of these new objects were instantly picked up by other parks, other builders. The Fish Rock set is now seeming to become the standard if you're going to be making CSO rock work or something like that. Very versatile. You see people tackling a bunch of different environments with it, from Gladsheim and snowy setting. Really anywhere else has a lot of possibilities with these rocks.
I'm going to be honest, I am entirely intimidated by these rocks and have yet to try them because I really want to, but there's so many objects and there's so much to learn. I think you look at this here from Villerouge-sur-Mer and see how kind of effortlessly it looks. Effortless it looks just across these cliffs. We can finally have kind of near vertical cliffs without just that flat RCT texture. There's so much rock striation here and just the way that the whole thing works itself without feeling too choppy. I feel like that was a problem with the 1K rocks, or the downside of them is that they ended up feeling very on the grid. But this feels very natural. It really kind of erases the grid as a whole. Has nice just little details in it, and I really do think this is going to be the thing that'll separate out a lot of new parks. Is how well they use these rocks.
I just love how there is a transgression and an evolution in rockwork in RCT. How starting with the normal base game rockwork, then to the 1K rocks, which are basically the same textures but look jagged, then to the Lord of the Rings rocks, which are just a completely disgusting texture that really fit the game. Then the Kryptonian rocks, which lacked depth, to finally an alternative that fits in with the original game's style.
It really is.
Yeah, I think the benefit of these rocks that we didn't see in the previous ones is that you could still make out the shape of the rock. It's not just lost into these tiny textures. You can see the larger rock forms, and builders can build up specific things with the toolset that these objects have.
Absolutely, and it is. I noticed the comment in chat. This wasn't the only rock set. We also had the Tile Inspectors rock set from Tolsimir's team, and there's just both of those really did answer a lot of the issues that we had with the previous rocks. To your point, Chappie, and we've been able to make the old rocks look good. I think there's a lot of builders who have been able to make weird textures and weird shapes and everything actually look legit, but this is the really kind of, I think, winner of that battle as far as what can really be done with this sort of object. And this goes hand in hand now with the new save format again, being able to select all 50 objects of this, however many it was, gives us the ability to build that and to take them all. But yeah, I think this is going to be one of those things that it'll be a revolutionary experience. To me, there's a couple things in this game that have been really just truly revolutionary. That was the Toons B&M supports. That was the multi-tile trees, the bigger trees, so really just increasing the size of landscaping in general. And then this rock. These rocks, I think, are going to end up in that kind of same vein where, if you're building a park that doesn't have these, it might be a showstopper till you go and put these in.
Yeah, these rocks rock.
Yep, I am with you on this one. I'm intimidated by them. I haven't experimented with them quite yet. I am imagining it's going to be a battle at first, but people have been very successful with these.
Absolutely. All right, so next up, best additional content.
All right, with best additional content, we are looking at not only the parks not only the parks matter on our side, but sometimes the builders like to include little details or little files that lift their parks into a bigger setting. This can be from PDF files to images to maps, you name it. But here we're naming the best of them all. We have a shared third spot, and this with 10 votes. Serial box design from the Serial Killers and the evidence boards from the Tile Inspectors. I love the serial box designs. I just love the creativity that went into it. I love all the little nods to the teams, and I like to think somebody actually printed these out and made these because they are foldable, I believe. And the Tile Inspectors boards, well, of course, all the little details, and again, nods to their team. There's good the effort that was put into these for every single park. Kudos to them.
But it really does have that great extension of the game itself. This is an attraction in itself now to have these little boxes. I look forward to every matchup that had either of these teams in it, because it had more of these to read and to find all the little secrets and the details and kind of just fun stuff. It's just clever. For one, we've seen a lot of this in the past, and just unique advertising or just additional content with the parks, but it's just fun, and the consistency to be able to put these all together, it was just fantastic.
On the second spot, we have the Florida Action Park commercial by the Adventurers Club with 14 votes. And I have to say, this personally is my favorite. I've mentioned before when Florida Action Park came along, I just find it a hilarious park. Well, it's partially due to this video. Sometimes I just put that on even without looking at the park because I have to laugh with it. It's so well put together, so cheesy and so befitting of the entire theme.
Nin Cities is just, Josh is amazing at this sort of production, and I'd expect nothing less. I think it's just absolutely amazing. It was so funny, so just spot on.
But there is only one winner in this category, and I completely agree with the winner of this category. With 17 votes, it's the README for Washington Park Rainbow Summit by CP6. This, Brian, I think you best can say it. This was a file of multiple pages. This wasn't just a little readme of I did build this in this year and thank you to these members. This was an entire background and history of a real existing place that you provided us, and that gave so much more content and believability to the entire project.
Well, it is kind of funny. I'm surprised at this, to be honest, because I thought, some of the other ones were just so super clever, and to me this was pretty straightforward. But it did take a number of days to write the details and actually create the world and pull all the names. All the names were era and location appropriate for the different spaces in Japan, and just some of the research and things that went into it took a little while to build up into kind of what they were. But I'm very happy that this came together like it did, and the people actually read it. When you're faced with a wall of text that's 8 pages long, it's not exactly the most enticing to read, but I'm glad that folks enjoyed it, so thank you for the votes on this one. Although I think shout out to some of these other options that were out there. The couple that I think of as well, we had the uh, the audio prep. I'm trying to remember the park name because it was the other long one, the
Oh
Diegetic
yes,
Underground.
yeah.
That one just that one had me on the floor. I loved that just audio recording and everything behind it. That was amazing. One of my favorites for sure.
The park which shall not be named, that one, with the entire podcast or the presentation of the park itself. Yeah, that's a good mention. Good that you say it. That was absolutely beautiful.
And that was another park that I just really liked in general too, because there was a lot of density in there. I think honestly to a detriment, maybe a little too much density, but it was pretty fantastic. But as we move along, we have the next one together. This is the best park logo.
Alright, for best park logo, we got yet again a third spot which has two names on it. El Dorado by InCities and the head-to-head logo by Roy R. with 12 votes each. Thank you. Thank you, Roy, for providing this beautiful logo, and, well, congratulations, Josh, as well, for his design for Dorado.
Yeah, that's a beautiful
Oh,
logo.
oh, they're all fantastic. I love the simplicity of the head-to-head 9 logo.
Absolutely. It's one of those things where I think, of all the RCT sites and groups out there, I think ours has always been so focused on not only providing great content, but also having a good logo and write-ups to go along with it. And, the focus on logos, I think, has always been really cool because it's really pushed that great graphic design. And, folks like InCities or Roy or Scoop or, all those folks who do great logos, it's just really fun to see those pushing the boundaries of what their skills are and coming up with just really cool things. It can add a lot to a park.
Completely agree. On the second spot, we've got the logo for the Adventurers Club, again by InCities with 18 votes. Providing a team's logo is always a tricky job, but well, the Adventurers Club, I think Josh's logo really just represents what it stands for.
Yeah, absolutely loved this one. I remember him talking about this being based on a real place. I haven't seen the real logo and don't know how near that is to the original logo. But this one this is fantastic. The crispness, just love this one.
Yeah, he's definitely very skilled in this, and just being able to see the ability to take these kind of very different ideas and everything. That El Dorado logo is very different from the Adventurers Club logo, but they're just such both really nicely put together, nicely detailed, very easy to read. It feels like you could put that on a T-shirt or a mug or something like that, and gladly buy that.
Yeah, definitely. And on first spot, we got once again Washington Rainbow Summit by InCities with 20 votes.
And I have to
I
thank
think
InCities for this one. Go ahead, Jeffy.
I just wanted to say, actually, I think we can call Josh the rightful winner of this category, as he is featured in all three of them.
Absolutely. Very, very good sweep through the whole thing, and just really, really well put together. I had asked Josh for this logo, and he had asked for some suggestions, so I sent him the original park logo for the real thing, and he took that and kind of ran with it, introduced the rainbow motif from the park, and just made such a really kind of beautiful but simple design, and it's just really, really well done. But yeah, it was incredibly well put together.
I actually need to know, Washizan is a real park, isn't it? Is
It
this logo
is.
then is this logo based on the one from the real deal?
It's based on the real one, but it's a fair bit different. The real park is actually called Washuzan Highland Brazilian or Brazilian Highland Washuzan Park. So it's actually themed to Brazil of all things, which is a little bit strange. It kind of has this same sort of green logo with this sort of flowery top bit on it, and has the text in the same sort of idea. But Josh took that kind of general shape and general idea and turned it into this. So it's fairly different from the real one, but keeps the same spirit of the original, which I think definitely takes a lot of skill.
Yeah, between the original, which is quite different than this iteration, doesn't have the rainbow. Well, it has a rainbow, but it's built into a flower. The text is quite different. Really, the only thing that's carried through is the green color.
Alrighty, moving along. Next one up, best screenshot. So first of all, before we get into this one, thank you to Scoop for hosting the screenshot polls each month. Certainly a great way to keep folks looking at the main site and really kind of pointing out and making more worthwhile. Making a careful cut of your screenshot and taking the best angle.
Exactly. Thank you, Scoop, for putting all the efforts for organizing this one. In third spot, we've got the Desert Caves screenshot by Extreme97 with 15 votes.
This one was from
Yeah, no, go ahead.
one of your contests, right, Dr. Dirt?
Yeah, this one he made for I think it was a monotone challenge, and did the brown is in a theme direction with that. And I thought this one was probably thus far might be my favorite one that's come from the contest.
Absolutely.
It was really cool, the texturing in this one, even the simplicity of the layout that circles around a watchtower, in the hints of the caves, just overall just awesome.
Absolutely.
I love this screenshot. I do have to say though, those little challenges you're doing on the Discord really help to push players to discover new talents and new aesthetics. I can only recommend trying other members to join them, because you can see what comes from them. Creativity like this isn't really well, it doesn't happen that often anymore, I feel, or at least not in the short term, like a week.
Yeah, I was happy to see the number of nominees for this category that came from the building challenges. I think we had at least 3 of them were nominated. So yeah, it's definitely pushed some other members to make some new things, try some new things, work on different aesthetics. And Extreme has been, one of the most successful of this.
Absolutely.
All right, moving on to the second winner of the night. We've got Dumbo the Flying Elephant by Airtime with 16 votes. Well-deserved winner, I think. Or
Absolutely.
second place, at least. Look at this. I mean, it just screams Disney to me.
Yeah, I think this jumps up pretty quickly here for definitely and most anticipated upcoming park for sure.
All right, moving on to the winner of this category. In first place with 18 votes is Casabalanza by Tolzimir. This project is one of Tolzimir's. Well, it actually introduced half diagonals, if I seem to recall. Not this screenshot, but definitely this project, and it is always exciting when he shares an update on its progress. Look at that use of the Colosseum in that hotel building. It's beautiful.
Yeah, I think this is the most successful one that he's shown of the project, with the half diagonals, and the one that's coming towards completion. Some of the earlier ones we saw the introduction of it, which was the awe factor with that, but here we see it more in a completed context. And I agree, the use of the Colosseums is just so cool.
I think this is going to be an easy contender for best architecture once it's released. Just the clever use of objects, like you say, with the Colosseum there, and the half diagonals mixed in there in a way that's clean. It doesn't feel under detailed. It kind of feels seamless throughout. Really, this is going to be a special one once it gets released.
No doubt about it.
All right. Now, keeping on with releases, we have the best small park. And so, looking at the overall sizes of parks, this is sort of our head-to-head level, and smaller. So designs head-to-head, things like that. So differentiated from those large, multi-year park builds, or at least in my case, multi-year, probably about a month in Hydro Portal's mind. But best small park for 2021, in third place, we have Stardust Jubilee by the Tile Inspectors, garnering 12 votes. And then next up, we have La Cour de Ciel by Manual Laborers, 17 votes. So both of these definitely getting a number of votes and number of runner-ups and wins throughout the contest so far. So good to see them back up on the top sheet. But our number one winner for this one, we've seen it before, we'll see it again, is Riverview Exposition by Adventurers Club with 23 votes. So congratulations, Hydro and team. Adventurers Club for this one. Just a beautiful design all around. This is just I mean, it's hard to say, more than we already have. Just the detail and the aesthetics. I would actually like to see this park done fully cleaned up in its kind of original state. It would be kind of a neat like secondary map to see that, in its kind of pristine operating condition. But the overlay of the crunch of all of these little details of foliage and cracked pavement and the ghost people and everything else, it's just really, really impressive.
Yeah, it's easy to see why this park was successful in this category. Just overall, it has elements that anybody can enjoy and like about this. From the realistic aspects, then you have some conceptualization and fantasy elements with the ghost, things operating that are broken down, and then you also have the new use of objects, the embracing the half diagonals throughout the park. Just overall fit with what Head to Head was trying to accomplish. Both fantasy and realism lovers could love this one.
How about that carousel cover, though? That's just, I love those stacked track pieces and the nice curved roofs and spire on top, and then all those just different columns that have the spires on top of each one. Just such clean design and just a classy overall look. Yeah, it's a well-deserved win at this size park.
I do agree. I just like how it is indeed a complete park, basically on the size of a head-to-head map. Congratulations, Hydro, once again.
Yeah, well put together, and well done to Adventurers Club for taking a lot of these awards so far. Certainly well deserved. All right, so from best park to best design, we have the the designs. It's been a staple of New Element from the very outset. Just a coaster and some surroundings. Certainly over time, that's grown into coaster plus quite a bit more. But there's a lot to see. So looking through these winners, we have in third place Scream by Lewis. So this is actually the first time we're seeing this one show up, and it's definitely a shame that it hasn't shown up more, because there's a lot of great detail in it. It's a fantastic recreation. It was one of the early adopters of Crunch, and that kind of heavy detailing of road lines and darker pavement where the buses have been, and a great back of house area. It's got that ugly, rough and kind of rigid nature to it, with a really, really nice coaster and very nicely put together supports and all the realism you would expect from Lewis throughout. So well done and well deserved, garnering 12 votes there. In second place, we have Ninja showing up once again by Chiweijin Nin. Really, really great coaster for one. Another near recreation, which is kind of fun having two of those back to back. And we've already said so much about this one as well, just how well the theming was integrated, and the other rides and the landscape and elevation changes. I think that was a pretty cool thing. I loved the staircase up to the observation tower. Was just really well done, and the hack done on the tram ride so that it went up the hill and down the hill at the same speed. Little details like that really set it apart. But one winner, and this one has already taken an award as well, but we are welcoming back Lumeria by Logan's Run. as our number one best design for 2021, with 19 votes, just barely edging out Ninja. So this was a close battle here right up to the end. Certainly plenty to be said about this great design, largely by Steve for this one. Steve and Extreme carried this park, but it was Steve who put this coaster together here from the beginning and did a very nice job with it.
I completely agree. Lemuria, again, we've mentioned it before, but just a send off to Rivers of Babylon. This feels like a beautiful reboot, and I think it's a deserved win here.
Absolutely. You know, I love the way that that curve wraps around the tower here. I wanted to take this screenshot from the other side, from where we saw the other one. It's just a really great setting throughout. The way that it crosses up and over pathways underneath. We have those great bridges and tunnels and things like that. And two, there was quite a lot of designs here this year, or last year, I suppose it is now. There was a mention here in chat for a flying dinosaur, and that's both Belgian Guy and Mavericks. Both had a flying dinosaur, and they were both very well put together, and certainly well deserving of a mention. A lot of kind of fun seeing those as sort of co-designs being developed here at the same time with the same general idea. One being a flying coaster, one being a coaster sort of like Velocicoaster at Universal. But good shout out to those parks as well.
Oh, absolutely. Those definitely deserve to be checked out as well. It's a shame none of them were featured here, but alas, the people have voted.
Absolutely. And yeah, Grapevine is another good shout out as well. The take on the old Funtopia LL or RCT1 scenario, I suppose, from Alex. That was a great custom scenery design from him, done incredibly well. Well put together. Now, as we move along, we go to our next one here, and this is into the members categories, so this is Member of the Year.
Alright, for Member of the Year, we have yet again a shared third place. With 12 votes each, we have Dr. Dirt and Extreme 97. Congratulations. In second place, we have, with 16 votes in Cities, our good friend Josh. And on the number one spot, we have, with a whopping 21 votes, Cedar Point 6, who is also here today with us. Congratulations.
Oh, thank you very much. I do appreciate, and congratulations, Dirt, for third place as well. Those contests you've been hosting in Discord have been a highlight for sure. Been really great to see those.
Yeah, I love this
Congratulations to you
category.
too.
The the variance of what these different builders or members of the site have brought is very wide, from me hosting some of the building contests that just allow people a platform to start experimenting with different things. Extreme, it's tons of different object work and things of that nature. Josh swept the logo category. Also provided the Adventurers Club, where we saw a lot of new members start to shine from that team. And then obviously with CP6, you've had tons of tutorials, tons of streaming. Absolutely no surprise that you would take the number one spot there.
I'm just happy to help. You know, it was one of those things in 2020. I was furloughed from my job at our theme park, and I said, well, while I'm here, I might as well review some parks, and that turned one thing into another, and here we are doing tutorials and streams and all sorts of things like that. And honestly, it's a lot of fun. It's things that I kind of want to do anyway, and if it brings a larger audience to NE as a whole and just the community, it's amazing to me that this game of 20 plus years is still growing and turning into the community that it is. It's just incredible that we can still keep this going, and I hope that we can keep this going for even longer. I see the new save format and just what the devs over at OpenRCT are doing is just mind-blowing, because it really continues to revitalize and make this game appealing to new folks. It's kind of funny. I see kind of myself and a number of the other team as sort of the old guard now. We've been here since the early 2000s, and it's another generation of folks coming in, especially folks who, they're, some of them, we've been playing RCD for longer than they've been alive. But it's amazing that we're still seeing new people come in. We're seeing great community flourishing, and people are still excited about this game. I think it's one of those universal games that you can pick up and play in a lot of different ways and doing a lot of different things, and there's just such opportunity to kind of release your creativity in different ways. So it's really great to see the community building as it is, and thank you very much for those votes, and I hope to kind of continue all of that sort of work into this year. As we continue along, we have most promising player. Like we just said, there's a lot of upcoming folks, so this honors them.
Exactly. With this category, we like to put the people in the picture who have not been that long a part of New Element or the community in general, but have shown amazing progress or are just nice people. In first spot, we have, with 19 votes, we got AJ. Congratulations to you. With 20 votes in second place, we got Babar Tapi. And with 21 votes, a member who has recently even released one of his first major parks, we got Ethan.
It's incredible to me
all of you.
It's incredible to me how close this is between these three. 19, 20, and 21 votes. That's so close, and I think you could easily make a case for all of these guys. Ethan was breaking out. This is a screenshot from 2022 here, maybe a future look into next year's awards, but great release here for Hoshi N. But then you have Babar Tapi, who's just came out of nowhere and really just burst onto the scene with his parks, and certainly AJ, the building machine, just a stalwart of creative and just fun stuff.
Yes, absolutely. All three of these guys are deservedly winners here. I don't think there's any losers in this category. Like you said, Babar Tapi as well, with 2 parks coming out of nowhere, brimming with detail. AJ with his creativity. I think there is a nice future for the community ahead of us if people like this keep joining.
Absolutely, and plenty of other folks as well. Gustav in here, Cactus Coffee, just so many great players that it's really just awesome to see folks excited about sharpening their skills and just building up and building great stuff. Lots of really good designs and kind of unique perspectives on the game. So love it, and I hope that the whole crew continues to develop and kind of refine their skills and details. All right, from most promising player to best non-park maker, we have those folks who haven't quite passed that mark for park maker yet, but nonetheless are still creating some pretty amazing work. Yappy, you want to take this one?
Alrighty, I'll take it. For best non-park maker, on the third spot, we've got Split Vision with 15 of the votes. On the second spot, how is this guy still not a park maker? 23 votes, Tolsimir. And then on the first spot, with 24 votes, we're pretty close, Extreme 97. Also, again, how are these people not park makers yet? Congratulations to all of you.
Yeah, absolutely. With Split Vision splitting or sweeping an entire category here and some of the best ideas out there, it's just incredible. This is a screenshot from Witch Hunt, which was one of Extreme's designs built with Steve last year, and certainly Tolsimir leading in head-to-head team to victory. You gotta say, it's very impressive.
Exactly. I think... No, go ahead.
No, go.
I think I just wanted to say is these guys have been so close to the beautiful green name recently, but I really honestly believe at least one of them will get there this year. I just cannot believe they aren't park makers yet. I think they're more than deserving of the title.
Absolutely, and park maker, certainly the way that the qualifications are set up there rewards large park completion, and that's not the only way to play the game. And I think some of what we see these three doing, plus all the other nominations, is really just impressive as well, to be able to continue building up in their style, doing designs, doing group parks, doing things like that, and just helping build the community to what it is. Certainly they are, all three of these guys are stalwarts of the community, and park maker or not, I think we all kind of look up to them and their skills for what they're doing. All right, so next up, we need to talk before we get into our final two, which is Park Maker of the Year and Best Park. We just need to talk about the kind of some of the notable moments of the year, because we just had so many. Beyond just a head-to-head 9, there was all the Open RCT 2 developments. We have the new save format out now. We have so many great parks and great designs that came out that weren't necessarily featured here or were part of the nominations, but didn't necessarily make it to the top 3. I think for me, one of the ones that stands out pretty well is the conquests of Kinlan Quinto from Big Shooter Gill. That was the other spotlight from last year, and a really, really great spotlight as well, with that sort of fantasy approach and surprisingly big map too. That was before the new save format, and it's kind of amazing that the object limit wasn't hit, because it's just packed full of details, great layouts, great theming and everything else. And this marks Big Shooter Gill's second spotlight after Mario, the Mario Cup, which is funny to me, because it almost he's really flying under the radar, I suppose. You think about both of those, and they're both really solid design or spotlights. They're really detailed maps, and they're sort of off the beaten path, not kind of typical of what you would see. It's definitely well done to him for those. Cappy, what was some of your moments for last year?
I agree with Big Shooter Gill's park, for instance. That's a really good shout out to him. Big Shooter Gill is one of those players that would post a screen once every 6 months or something, isn't really that active in the community as in Discord or on the site, and then comes out of nowhere with a incredible park like his. But I think there is only one big thing we need to mention here in notable moments, and that's not just a big moment for New Element, it's a big moment for the entire game and the future of Roller Coaster Tycoon 2 in general, I think. Big shout out to the Open Roller Coaster Tycoon developments for finally releasing something that has been announced years ago, the drop of the new save game format. I think that might be one of the cornerstones of Roller Coaster Tycoon 2 building in the next few years. The elimination of the limits, the possibility to add in new coaster types, which has been done in the past, but makes is now so much more easier. I think, Roller Coaster Tycoon 2 will never be the same again, I believe.
Well, and beyond to the new save format, we also have plugins. We have Sadret's Scenery Manager plugin. You got Basil's ride plugin, edit ride vehicles plugin, and everything. Those are as invaluable as the game itself these days, I feel like.
Oh, absolutely. I completely agree. Sadret, you do you, man. And if you keep being as active as you are now, thank you. From all of us here, thank you for your efforts and your work.
Absolutely. And a good call in the chat, shout out for the Grand Tour contest from early last year. That produced some pretty spectacular stuff. It also saw some newcomers as well, like Zarathustra, and new folks here jumping into the fun kind of classic format of contest with the road rally type feel to it. A lot of really great stuff. It was one of those fun contests. It was one of those that I would have loved to have entered if I had time to do it, because that's the kind of contest that appeals to me. But the quality of parks that brought was pretty spectacular.
Oh yeah, Grand Tour really was such a surprising contest, to be honest. Everybody believed in it going to be a quick, fast, and easy contest with just simple additions, but nobody expected what were basically head-to-head level parks come out of those.
Absolutely. It was was pretty incredible through the whole thing. And I think the other notable moment for me, and one of those that also kind of flew under the radar, was Coco's Disney Sea, the LL Spotlight, our very few LL entries as we get these days, but you look at this as just an absolutely incredible park for those who had it installed, and I absolutely recommend, if you can, get LL installed so you can look at this park and look at others. This is where the game came from, and this is where the history of this whole darn thing comes from, and it's great to see that folks are still building in it.
It's such a shame Loopy Landscape is flying under the radar since the advent of Open Roller Coaster Tycoon 2, but then again, it is possible to look at Loopy Landscape parks in Open Roller Coaster Tycoon 2, so there is no excuse if you haven't seen this. It might be a little bit different from the way Coco intended, but then again, good park making is still good park making, so go and check it out, people.
Absolutely, and it just barely missed out on the top 3 for a couple of different awards. It was number 5 for best theming, number 4 for best entrance, and number 4 for best park. So very, very close to the top 3 on some of these, and just it is. Milo says here in chat, it's a masterpiece. It is. It's absolutely a masterpiece. It's one of those that definitely put a lot of heart and soul into this park, and you can definitely tell. And it reads that way. All right, well, now we're down to the final 2 awards, and without further ado, let's get into it. Chappie, take it away for Best Park Maker.
All right, well, Best Park Maker. In the third spot, we have you yourself, Brian, with 18 votes, CP6.
Thank you.
Congratulations. On the second spot, again, it's going to be a very close winner. With 20 votes in second place, we got Who's Leon, and with only 1 vote more, I think, well, if you have followed the awards, you might know him already, Hydro Portal with 21. Congratulations, both Leon and Hydro, but only one can be the winner, it seems.
Well done. Well done to Hydro.
The Hydro has, we were just mentioning from Grand Tour into Head-to-Head 9, he was one that really started that movement of the next level of building that you see in crunchy textures and things like this, and he started that in Grand Tour, and when he got into Head-to-Head, it really kind of blew everybody's mind with what was happening in his parks, some of the textures. Riverview Exposition is the obvious example of that, so definitely well deserved.
Absolutely, and it's one of those where Hydro I still kind of almost see as a newcomer, even though he's been around for a little bit now, and just the production quality and the production level is just absolutely amazing, and the enthusiasm for the community, the late night hours of building, it's carrying the Adventurers Club through some of these parks, just really knocked it out of the park, and certainly to be said for Leon as well. What a builder, just such varied style, and the ability to kind of build in all sorts of different levels and speeds, and just details, and work with folks just incredibly well. They're both incredible members of the community, and I look forward to everything that they're going to put out.
Well, talking about Hydro, we are talking about a guy who builds 24, if I have to believe Josh, 24/7 in just from his couch. And like you say, he isn't that long a member of the community. May I remind you, he's only been here 2 years and is already Park Maker of the Year. Not just Member of the Year, no, Park Maker.
Yeah, pretty incredible, and not just incredible, well deserved. It's really great to see these sorts of things, with relative newcomers building up to this position and being able to keep going. I know the Six Flags Great America recreation is hard underway right now, and is really taking new levels with half diagonals and an open object limit now. It's just one that I'm very excited to see here in the future, and I know is going to be an incredible park. As is pretty much everything that is going to be coming along.
Yep, just so much innovation in these parks in terms of new objects, new object uses, new ways to approach the game. But it's also nice to see, older members um, like us, like CP6, that's been around for a while and still is able to, keep up with those things.
Absolutely. Well, Best Park Maker rolls in to our final category of the night as we look at Best Park.
Yes, it's the big one, people. The one we've all been looking forward to. Right, so let's get into it. On the third place with 6 votes is Alex's Evergreen Gardens.
Fantastic park, and one that I think ought to have had even more of a presence here in these awards, because it was just absolutely shockingly good.
Absolutely. On the second spot with 22 votes is Storybook Glen.
Yeah, and
But
just another incredible one as well. No custom scenery, best NCSO park, some of the best NCO we've seen, ever.
it is
Yeah,
quite remarkable that the both third and second park on this list are NCSO.
Yeah, exactly. I was just about to say that in two different approaches, where Storybrooke Glen has a lot of hacking, and we see just what it can do, and Alex has a more laid back traditional approach to NCSO. In both ways are successful.
But then again, they're beaten out by a CSO park with 27 votes. It's Washazon Rainbow Summit by Cedar Point 6. Well, congratulations, you're Park of the Year.
Oh, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. I'm very happy with how the park turned out, and happy with how well it got put together. But I could have very easily seen this go in a couple of different ways. From Storybrooke to Evergreen Gardens, and then the rest of the nominations, pretty impressive as well. But for me, I keep going back to the kind of level of quality that we had just at the beginning of the year last year. It was kind of funny. We rolled into 2021, and I think I released Washuzan in January, and I think Storybrooke came in February, and I'm pretty sure Conquest of Kinlan Quito came in, April, maybe? It was just right after. It was just a 1, 2, 3, 4 punch of all of these great spotlights, with Coco's Disney Sea coming in there as well. Then towards the end of the year, we had Evergreen Gardens. There was just so much to be had. Some really, really good stuff.
Yeah, not to mention head to head happens this year. Have a whole collection of amazing parks with that. An inordinate number of spotlights that we saw relative to some other years, and the variations of the spotlights. You see fantasy, CSO, you have NCSO, we get LL spotlights. Just fantastic that the community is still making these things.
And it's one of those things where we always see head-to-head parks really gain such traction as great, really game-changing parks. And the argument for them has always been, oh, well, they're a little too small to be Park of the Year. But I think it's harder and harder to ignore them now. You can have a large park like this where, Washuzan's largely landscape more than anything else. The actual park content is pretty spread out, whereas you have something like Madinat Al Harir that's just density on top of density through the whole thing. And I think you could make the case for something like that as Park of the Year now too. It gets harder and harder, I feel like, to really get to that point. I think you could interview a number of folks here on the site and get a different answer for Park of the Year throughout. So it says something about the quality.
Yeah, and I think the jump in quality that you get from previous seasons of head to head to our current season was just incredible. I think it started with the Grand Tour, which was an extremely successful contest, and we saw so many new things coming in the game. The RCT got pushed further with the senior manager, now the new save format, and then it kind of exploded in head to head. We saw what these new innovations can do, I think, for the first time.
Absolutely. It's just so cool, and it makes me so excited for next year where we don't have head to head here this year, but we've already had a couple of really great releases, and we know there's a lot of folks working on additional great releases. So it's going to be really interesting to see how the best park for this year shapes up, because there's already a couple great contenders, and I think there's going to be a lot to come. So it's I don't know, it's exciting for me. I'm sure there are new, contests and other things that will be on the way, and producing some interesting things. And what I'm really curious to see is how the new save format, for one, the ability to select all sorts of new objects, the new objects just in general that the new save format really allows, fish rocks, half diagonals, crunch, how all those things come together, because I think we're going to start seeing a lot of people turn those into some pretty impressive parks. My only worry, I think, of all of that is that the size of the parks now, the ability to just build and build and build in kind of an endless sea of tiles, might extend the park building times for a lot of folks. I joke about how fast Hydro is, and it's the folks like that who can just absolutely cruise through Hydro Extreme, and all the folks who can really just build fast. I'm excited to see what they come up with. For me, there's no hope, because it's going to take me 5 years to do it. But it's exciting to see what's going to turn out from all of these. And Dirt, I think your contests are going to be pretty interesting as far as how those just little vignettes and little quick builds can showcase new objects and showcase building styles and things like that. I'm waiting for somebody to take those things that they build for your contest and turn them into a design, or turn them into a full park.
Yeah, I think the members that have been doing it consistently and making some of these things, and have been, stomping me into contest, are developing quite rapidly. We see them making awesome things, sharing awesome screens that I don't know if the contest itself is giving them some new perspectives, new angles on what to build, some styles to build. But we'll see how it goes in the future, and see, right now we have Extreme kind of dominating, but we have some of our consistent members starting to rise through our standards.
Well, and with that, we will wrap up the head-to-head awards, or head-to-head awards, we already did that. The New Element Awards for 2021. But first, we want to welcome Liam to the chat. Welcome in, Liam.
Welcome.
Thank you, and well done on hosting this so far. It's been a
Thank
really
you for
good
having
watch.
us.
And it's been really nice to watch from as an audience member, like not having to do anything. I really enjoyed it, so good job, guys.
Thanks very much, and thank you too for your putting all this together, and just you guys and POSIX and CC9 really for being the admin team for the site, and just really putting a lot of heart and soul and effort into keeping the site up and running and going well. So from all of us, thank you very much.
So now that we're done kissing each other's ass, people are expecting stuff, right? Yeah, I can hear the crowd outside there yelling, yeah. There's no contest. Let's be clear about that. But Annie has 20 this year. Actually, a few weeks ago, maybe a week ago, we officially turned 20. And that means New Element is now an age of fertility, and New Element is pregnant with an anniversary event, which will come to you in a few weeks. So that's coming at some point. For now, you'll have to do with just a tiny release. It's been released on the site now, so I invite everyone to go check it out. And if you've paid attention, you might know what it is. And I think that's it. There's stuff coming, and there's stuff right now.
That's a good tease. Looking forward to seeing that park and also what is on the way. So thank you all very much for coming to the award show today, and congrats to all the winners and the park builders. We look forward to doing this again next year and seeing what all new stuff we have to talk about here upcoming. So with that, thank you all very much for watching. Have a great day, and we will see you next time. Bye.
See ya.
See you,
Bye.
everyone.